There is a single sentence, just one, that when spoken with absolute authority can command money into your existence starting this very moment. Not attract it, not manifest it, not hope for it. Command it. The way a king commands a decree into law, the way a general commands troops into formation, the way lightning commands the sky to split open. But here is what the manifestation industry will never tell you. That sentence has been in your mouth this entire time. The power has always been yours. The authority has never left you. What has been missing is not the words. What has been missing is understanding why saying it once with conviction holds more creative power than repeating it 1,000 times with doubt. Because here is the truth that is about to shatter everything you thought you knew about affirmations. Every single time you repeat the same declaration, every morning you recite the same prayer, every night you whisper the same wish into the darkness, you are not building faith. You are programming doubt. You are not strengthening belief. You are confessing that you didn't believe it the first time, or the second time, or the 300th time. A king does not issue the same royal decree 7 times, hoping his kingdom will eventually obey. He speaks once, and the entire realm rearranges itself to match his word. A general does not give the same command to his soldiers over and over, begging them to listen. He issues one clear order, and movement happens instantly. Lightning does not strike, then pause, then strike again to make sure you were paying attention. It cuts through the sky once. And everyone knows power just moved through the atmosphere. That is authority. That is command. That is the difference between someone who speaks from their divine inheritance and someone who is still begging the universe for permission. Now, before you click away thinking this is just another video about positive thinking, I need you to understand something that will change everything. What I am about to share with you is not a technique. It is not a hack. It is not manifestation advice wrapped in spiritual language. This is divine law, the same law that Florence Scovel Shinn discovered in the early 1900s, the same law that separated light from darkness at the beginning of creation, the same law that is waiting for you to remember that your word, your voice, your command carries the exact same creative power that spoke galaxies into existence. So here is what I need from you right now, in this moment. And I need you to do this before we go any further, because this is not optional if you want this to work for you. If you are truly ready to stop repeating affirmations that confess your doubt and start issuing commands that demonstrate your authority, hit that like button right now. Not for the algorithm, not for me, for yourself. Because that single action, that one click, tells your subconscious mind that something is shifting in this very moment. That you are no longer playing the role of someone who hopes and wishes. You are stepping into the identity of someone who speaks, and it is done. And listen, I know some of you are still hesitating. You are watching but not committing. You are listening but not participating. And that is exactly the energy that has been keeping you stuck. That passive, waiting, observing energy. But authority does not observe. Authority acts. So right now, as an act of claiming your power, hit that like button. Let that be the first command you issue today. Not to the universe, to yourself. Now, subscribe to this channel. And I am going to tell you exactly why this matters. Not because I need subscribers, but because if you want to learn how to consistently use your voice the way the divine used its voice, if you want to understand the laws that govern how words create reality, if you want to master the art of speaking things into existence instead of begging them to maybe show up someday if you are good enough or worthy enough or have repeated the magic words enough times, then you need to stay in this frequency. You need to surround yourself with teachings that remind you who you are, that call you back to your authority every single day, that interrupt the programming of lack that the world is constantly trying to install in you. So subscribe, not as a casual viewer, as someone who has made a decision, as someone who is saying yes to remembering their power. And here is the third thing I need you to do right now, and this one is the most important. Comment below. Write these exact 4 words. Money obeys my voice. Write it in the comments. Do not just think it. Do not just say it in your head. Write it publicly. Release it into the collective field. Let that be your first public declaration that something has changed, that you are no longer someone who whispers their desires in private and lives in lack in public. You are someone who declares truth out loud and watches reality rearrange itself to match. Go ahead. Pause the video if you need to. Write it now. Money obeys my voice. Because when you write it, when you release it, when you make it visible, you activate something in your nervous system that thought alone cannot activate. You cross a threshold. You burn a bridge back to the old identity. You tell the universe, and more importantly, you tell yourself that you are serious, that this is not just another video you watched and forgot. This is the moment everything changed. Because by the end of this video, you will understand 3 things that will completely revolutionize your relationship with money. First, why repetition is the language of doubt disguised as discipline. Second, why one command spoken with absolute certainty rewrites reality faster than 1,000 prayers spoken with hope. And third, the exact sentence, the precise words that you will speak once, and only once, to call money into your life, not as a beggar asking for scraps, but as royalty commanding your inheritance to manifest now. Let's begin by destroying the paradigm that has been keeping you broke. The manifestation industry has sold you a beautiful lie, and it is time to set that lie on fire and walk away from the ashes. They told you to repeat your affirmations every single morning, to write them in your journal 100 times before breakfast, to record yourself saying them and play it on a loop while you sleep. They told you that if it is not working yet, you simply have not said it enough times. You need more consistency, more faith, more repetition, more desperation dressed up as discipline. But here is the truth they will never tell you, because if they did, their entire industry would collapse overnight. Every time you repeat something, you are unconsciously confessing that you do not fully believe it yet. Every repetition is evidence of doubt. Every time you say it again, you are telling the universe, and more importantly, you are telling yourself that it did not work the first time, that you are still waiting, still hoping, still trying to convince yourself and the divine that maybe this time it will finally be true. Think about the things you truly believe, the things you know with absolute certainty. Do you wake up every morning and repeat 100 times, "My name is," and then state your name? Do you stand in front of the mirror affirming, "I live on planet Earth, I live on planet Earth, I live on planet Earth"? Do you journal obsessively, "I am a human being with a physical body," 300 times before you can trust that it is real? No, you do not. Because you know those things with such deep certainty that speaking them even once would feel ridiculous. Truth does not need repetition. Truth simply is. And when you know something is true, your voice carries an entirely different frequency when you speak it. Let me give you another example that will make this even clearer. Think about the last time someone asked you your name. You did not pause. You did not take a deep breath and try to convince yourself that it was really your name. You did not repeat it 7 times, hoping that this time you would finally believe it. You simply said it. Once. With 0 doubt. With complete certainty. And the person asking accepted it immediately as truth because they heard the frequency of knowing in your voice. That is the frequency. That is the energy. That is the vibration you must access when you speak to money. Not the frequency of, "I hope this is true." Not the frequency of, "I am trying to believe this." But the frequency of, "This is who I am. This is what is real. This is law." And here is where most people get tripped up. They think they need to build that frequency through repetition. They think if they say something enough times, eventually they will believe it. But that is backwards. Belief does not come from repetition. Belief comes from recognition. You do not create knowing. You uncover it. You do not build certainty. You remember it. Because deep in your soul, underneath all the programming and conditioning and fear, you already know that you have authority over money. You already know that your word creates your world. You already know that you were not meant to beg and plead and repeat endlessly. You were meant to speak once and watch reality obey. The question is not whether you have this power. The question is whether you are willing to remember it, whether you are willing to let go of the victim story that says money is hard to get and you have to work yourself to exhaustion to earn it, whether you are willing to release the identity of someone who has to prove their worth before abundance flows, whether you are willing to step into the truth that you are divine authority in human form. And when you speak from that place, money has no choice but to respond. Let me take you into a story that will make this crystal clear. Picture this in your mind with absolute detail, because this is not just a story. This is a mirror being held up to show you exactly what you have been doing with your voice. There was once a king who ruled over a vast and prosperous kingdom. One day he needed to issue a new law, something that would affect every citizen, every merchant, every corner of his realm. So he called his royal council together, stood before them, and declared, "By my authority, let it be known that starting tomorrow, the market square shall remain open until sunset instead of closing at noon. This decree is now law." He said it once. His voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. He did not repeat it. He did not follow up the next day to make sure everyone heard him. He did not stand on the balcony every morning shouting the same decree over and over, hoping that eventually reality would rearrange itself to match his words. He spoke it once, and it was done. Because that is what authority does. It speaks, and the world obeys. Now imagine if that same king, instead of speaking with command, stood before his council, wringing his hands nervously and said, I think maybe we should keep the market open longer? Could we possibly try staying open until sunset? I mean, if it is not too much trouble? I will keep asking every day until maybe you believe that I really mean it? What would happen? His council would look at each other in confusion. They would sense the weakness in his voice. They would doubt whether he actually has the authority to make such a decree, and most importantly, they would not act. Because the energy behind his words was not command. It was a plea. It was hope, disguised as authority. That is what you have been doing with your money affirmations. You have been standing before the universe like a king who forgot he was king, repeating the same request over and over, hoping that maybe this time, if you say it with enough emotion or enough consistency, the universe will finally take you seriously. But here is the spiritual law that changes everything. The universe does not respond to repetition. It responds to conviction. It does not obey volume or frequency or how many times you can recite the same sentence. It obeys authority, and authority speaks once. Because authority knows that when truth is declared from a place of absolute certainty, reality has no choice but to rearrange itself to match. Now pause for just a moment and let that sink in. Because what I just said goes against everything you have been taught about manifestation. Everything you have heard from gurus and teachers and courses that promise if you just do their technique long enough, consistently enough, perfectly enough, then maybe, just maybe, you will finally manifest what you want. But that is the old paradigm, the paradigm of effort, the paradigm of earning, the paradigm that says you are separate from source and you have to convince God or the universe or some external power to give you what you need. And that paradigm is not just ineffective, it is a prison. It keeps you repeating, striving, hoping, and never actually commanding. The new paradigm, or really, the original paradigm that humanity forgot, is this. You are not separate from source. You are an extension of it. You are not asking an external power to give you money. You are exercising the creative authority that lives in your own voice to call money from the invisible realm where it already exists into the physical realm where you experience it. And when you understand that, when you really get it at a cellular level, you stop begging, you stop repeating, you stop hoping, you start commanding. And the moment you start commanding from a place of true knowing, everything changes. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this at a level that most spiritual teachers today have completely forgotten. She wrote, "Your word is your wand. The words you speak become the world you experience, not the words you repeat endlessly, hoping they will become true. The word you speak with faith, with conviction, with the knowing that you are not asking for permission, you are issuing a divine command. When you understand this, everything changes. Your entire relationship with affirmations transforms. You stop treating your voice like a tool to convince the universe. You start recognizing your voice as the instrument through which divine law moves into physical form. But I know what some of you are thinking right now. You are thinking, but I have heard that repetition creates new neural pathways, that repeating affirmations rewrites your subconscious programming. That consistency is what manifests change. And yes, there is truth in that from a psychological perspective. But here is what you need to understand. There is a massive difference between repeating something to program your mind versus repeating something because you do not believe it yet. One is intentional neurological restructuring. The other is unconscious confession of doubt. And your subconscious mind knows the difference. The universe knows the difference. Money knows the difference. When you repeat an affirmation from a place of lack, from a place of desperately trying to convince yourself that it is true, you are not programming abundance. You are programming the loop of hoping and waiting. You are teaching your nervous system that money is something you have to chase, something you have to convince to come to you, something that requires endless effort and repetition before it finally shows up. But when you issue a command once, from a place of absolute knowing, your nervous system receives an entirely different message. It says, "This person knows who they are. This person is not asking. This person is decreeing." Reality will now adjust to match this truth because that is how divine law works. So the question is, not how many times should you say your affirmation. The question is, do you believe it? Not, do you want it to be true? Not, are you hoping it will work? Do you believe with the same unshakable certainty that you believe your own name, that when you speak, reality listens? If the answer is yes, then you speak it once, and you walk away knowing it is done. If the answer is no, then no amount of repetition will create what conviction creates in a single moment. Now, let me show you what this looks like in the real world, because this is not just philosophy. This is about your bank account. This is about money flowing into your life starting today. So let me tell you about the general and the soldier, because this story will shift something fundamental in how you see your own voice. Imagine a general standing on a battlefield. His army is waiting for orders. The enemy is approaching. Time is critical. In this moment, does the general shout the same command 15 times? Does he say, "Advance, advance, advance, please advance, I really mean it this time. If you could just advance, that would be great"? No, he says it once, "Advance," and every soldier moves. Not because he repeated it, not because he said it louder than yesterday, but because his voice carried the frequency of absolute authority. His soldiers do not question whether he means it. They do not wait to see if he will say it again tomorrow. They act immediately because they recognize command when they hear it. That is the energy. That is the frequency. That is the vibration your voice must carry when you speak to money. Not, "Please come to me. Money, I hope you show up. I will keep asking every day until you finally believe I am serious. But money, I command you to flow into my life now. This is law." And then you walk away. You do not check your bank account every 5 minutes to see if it worked yet. You do not wake up tomorrow and repeat it again because you are scared it did not take. You spoke it. It is done. Because that is what authority does. Now, here is where most people stumble. They hear this teaching and they try to speak with authority, but their voice betrays them. They say the words, "I command money to flow into my life," but there is a tremor underneath, a hesitation, a tiny voice whispering, "But what if it does not work? What if I am not worthy? What if I do not really have this power?" And that hesitation, that microscopic doubt, that is what cancels the command. Because the universe, divine law, the creative power that responds to your voice, it does not listen to your words. It listens to your frequency. It reads the vibration underneath the syllables. And if your vibration is saying, "I am not sure this is true," then no matter how perfect your words are, no matter how many times you repeat them, you are speaking from doubt. And doubt creates more situations that confirm doubt. Let me give you a real-world example of what this looks like. Imagine you walk into a restaurant. You sit down at a table. A server comes over and asks what you would like to order. Now, if you are confident, if you know what you want, you simply say, "I will have the salmon with roasted vegetables." You say it once, clearly, with certainty, and the server writes it down and walks away. Your food arrives exactly as you ordered it. But imagine if instead you said, I think I might want the salmon, maybe, or possibly the chicken. Actually, can I have the salmon? Are you sure you heard me? Let me say it again just to make sure. Salmon, salmon, salmon. I really, really want the salmon. I hope you believe me. I will keep saying it until you take me seriously. What would happen? The server would be confused. They would not trust your order. They might not even write it down because your energy is saying you are not sure what you actually want. And even if they did bring you the salmon, you probably would not enjoy it because you spent so much energy doubting whether you deserved to order it in the first place. That is exactly what you are doing with the universe when you repeat your affirmations from a place of doubt. You are confessing uncertainty. You are revealing that you do not actually believe what you are saying. And the universe, like that server, receives your confused order and does not know what to bring you. So it brings you more confusion, more doubt, more situations that reflect your uncertainty back to you. But when you order with confidence, when you speak with authority, when you say what you want once with absolute clarity and conviction, the universe, like that server, simply says, "Got it," and brings you exactly what you commanded. So how do you shift from doubt to authority? How do you access that king energy, that general frequency, that lightning conviction when your current circumstances are screaming the opposite of what you are trying to command? This is where we go deeper than any manifestation video you have ever watched. This is where we stop playing with techniques and start dealing with identity, because you cannot command what you do not believe you have authority over. And you do not have authority over money as long as you see yourself as someone who is trying to get it, earn it, attract it, or deserve it. You only have authority over money when you remember that you are not separate from the source that creates it, that the same power that spoke galaxies into existence lives in your voice. That when God said, "Let there be light," it was not a request. It was not a hope. It was not repeated 7 times before the angels finally got around to making it happen. It was spoken once, and light existed, period. That is your inheritance. That is the power you carry. But you have been trained, programmed, conditioned to see yourself as small, as someone who has to work hard for money, who has to prove you are worthy of it, who has to repeat affirmations endlessly because deep down you do not really believe you have divine authority. And this is not your fault. You were raised in a system that teaches lack, that money is scarce, that you have to compete for it, that some people are chosen for wealth and others are not, that if you do not have money, it is because you have not worked hard enough, been smart enough, or said your affirmations with enough conviction. But all of that is a lie designed to keep you repeating, striving, hoping, and never actually commanding. And the people who benefit from that lie, the ones selling you courses on how to repeat affirmations more effectively, they do not want you to discover what I am about to tell you. Because if you discover this, you will not need their courses anymore. You will not need their techniques. You will not need anyone to give you permission or teach you a secret method. You will simply remember your authority and speak. And speaking of discovering truth, I need to pause here and ask you something. Are you still with me? Because we are about to go even deeper. We are about to enter territory that most manifestation teachers are afraid to touch because it requires you to take full responsibility for your reality. No more victim stories. No more blaming the economy or your circumstances or your past. Just pure authority. If you are ready for that level of truth, if you are ready to stop playing small and step into the fullness of your power, then do me a favor right now. Leave a comment below and write, "I am ready to command." Just those 4 words. Because that simple act of writing it, of declaring it publicly, shifts something in your energy field. It tells the universe, and more importantly, it tells your own subconscious mind that you are crossing a threshold, that you are done with the old way, that you are ready for the truth. Go ahead. Write it now. I am ready to command. And then come back, because what I am about to share next is the key that unlocks everything. So right now, I want you to do something that might feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary. I want you to close your eyes for just a moment, and I want you to remember a time, any time in your life, when you knew you had authority. Maybe it was when you made a decision that changed everything. Maybe it was when you set a boundary that you never thought you could set. Maybe it was when you spoke a truth that you were terrified to say, but the moment you said it, you felt power move through your entire body. Remember that moment, not the circumstances around it, but the feeling in your chest, in your throat, in your voice, when you spoke from that place of knowing. That is the frequency you need to access when you issue your command to money. That is the energy that makes your word law. Because here is the secret they do not teach in manifestation courses. You do not need to create authority. You need to remember it. It has always been yours. You were born with it. But somewhere along the way, life convinced you that you lost it, that you have to earn it back, that you have to prove you are worthy of it. But you cannot lose what is inherent. You cannot earn what you already possess. You can only remember. And the moment you remember, the moment you feel that authority rising up from the core of your being, that is when your voice changes. That is when one sentence spoken from your mouth carries more creative power than 1,000,000 affirmations spoken from hope. Now, let me show you exactly what this looks like when someone actually does it. Not in theory, in reality, with money, with circumstances, with a bank account that goes from empty to full, not because they worked harder or got lucky, but because they remembered their authority and spoke once. There was a woman, and I will not use her name, but her story is real, who was $73,000 in debt, credit cards maxed out, bills piling up, constant anxiety about money. She had tried everything. Affirmations every morning, gratitude journals, vision boards, meditation, all of it. And nothing was changing. Then she learned this principle, this law of speaking once with authority instead of repeating endlessly with hope. And she decided to test it. Not because she fully believed it would work, but because she was desperate enough to try something different. So one morning, she stood in her living room and she spoke these words out loud with as much conviction as she could muster. Money flows to me now in unexpected ways. Large sums come to me quickly under grace. This is law. It is done. She said it once. And here is the part that most people cannot do. She walked away. She did not repeat it the next day. She did not check her bank account obsessively to see if it had worked yet. She did not journal about it, or meditate on it, or visualize it. She spoke it, and she released it, the way you would drop a stone into water and trust that gravity will pull it down without you having to supervise the process. Within 72 hours, 3 unexpected things happened. First, a company she had done freelance work for 2 years ago called her out of nowhere and said they had found an error in their accounting. They owed her $6,800. Second, her aunt, who she barely spoke to, called and said she had been feeling led to help her and sent her $15,000 as a gift. Third, she received a tax refund she was not expecting for $11,000. In 3 days, $32,800 appeared in her life. Not because she worked for it, not because she repeated an affirmation 100 times a day, but because she issued one command with enough authority that the universe heard it as law. Now I can already hear the skeptics saying, that is just a coincidence. Those things were already in motion before she said anything. And to that, I say, study the law of the spoken word for yourself. Read Florence Scovel Shinn. Read Neville Goddard. Read every spiritual teacher who understood that your word creates your world. And then test it in your own life. Speak with authority. Speak once, and watch what happens. Because the truth is, those things were in motion before she spoke. Everything that will ever come into your life already exists in what Florence called the invisible realm. The job offer, the unexpected check, the opportunity, the idea, the connection, it is all already prepared, but it cannot move from the invisible into the visible until you give it permission. And you give it permission not through repetition, but through command. Here is another story that will illustrate this principle even more powerfully. There was a man, a business owner, who was struggling to make payroll. He had 12 employees depending on him. He had tried everything. He had worked 18-hour days. He had cut costs. He had hustled and networked and done all the things you were supposed to do when you need money fast. And nothing was working. Then someone told him about the law of the spoken word, about how one command with authority creates more than 1,000 prayers with doubt. And he was skeptical, but he was also desperate. So he decided to try it. He stood alone in his office one evening after everyone had gone home, and he spoke these words out loud with as much conviction as he could summon. Money flows to me now from expected and unexpected sources. My business is divinely supplied. This is law. He said it once, and then he went home. He did not repeat it in the car. He did not wake up the next morning and say it again. He spoke it once, and he released it. The way you would release an arrow from a bow and trust that it will hit the target without you having to guide it through the air. Within 1 week, 5 things happened that he never could have orchestrated on his own. A client who owed him money from 6 months ago suddenly paid in full. A new customer called asking for a large project. A vendor offered him a payment plan that freed up cash flow immediately. An old friend reached out with a business partnership opportunity, and his accountant found a tax credit he had never claimed that resulted in a $17,000 refund. In 7 days, he went from not being able to make payroll to having more money in his business account than he had seen in 2 years. Not because he worked harder, not because he got lucky, but because he spoke with authority once, and reality responded. Your word is the bridge between the spiritual world where everything is already complete and the physical world where you experience the evidence of your faith. But that bridge only works when your word carries authority. When you speak not from lack trying to create abundance, but from abundance recognizing that it already exists, and now you are calling it into physical form. This is not magic. This is not wishing. This is divine law in action. The same law that created everything you see around you. The same law that is waiting for you to remember that you were never meant to beg for your inheritance. You were meant to claim it. Now let me take this even deeper, because if you are still watching, you are ready for the full truth. The reason one command works and 1,000 repetitions do not has nothing to do with the number of times you say something. It has everything to do with the belief underneath the words. When you speak once with conviction, you are speaking from the end. You are speaking as if it is already done, not hoping it will happen, not trying to make it happen, but knowing it has already happened in the realm where all things exist before they manifest in physical form. And when you speak from that place, your voice carries a frequency that the universe recognizes as truth, as law, as command. But when you repeat endlessly, you are speaking from the middle. You are speaking from the place of, I am still waiting, I am still trying, I am still hoping it will work. And that frequency, that vibration of waiting and hoping and trying, that is what keeps money in the invisible realm. Because the universe does not respond to effort. It responds to faith, and faith does not repeat. Faith speaks once and knows it is done. So here is the question you need to ask yourself right now, and I want you to answer it honestly, not to me, but to yourself. When you say your money affirmations, are you speaking from the end, from the place of knowing it is already done? Or are you speaking from the middle, from the place of hoping it will eventually become true? Because if you are honest with yourself, you will realize that most of the time you are speaking from hope, from effort, from the energy of, I am trying so hard to believe this. And that is why it is not working. Not because the law does not work, but because you are not using the law correctly. The law of the spoken word is not about volume or frequency or how many times you can say something before you finally convince yourself it is true. The law is about authority, and authority speaks once, because authority knows. So if you truly want to command money into your life starting today, not next week, not next month, but today, then you need to stop repeating and start commanding. You need to stop speaking from hope and start speaking from knowing. You need to stop asking and start decreeing. And I am about to give you the exact sentence, the precise words that you will speak once to call money into your life. But before I do, I need you to understand something crucial. This is not a magic spell. These are not magic words that work because of the syllables themselves. These words work because when you speak them with absolute conviction, with authority, with the knowing that you are not asking for money, you are commanding it to obey your voice. You activate the law of the spoken word. And when that law is activated, money has no choice but to respond. Are you ready? Take a deep breath, because what I am about to share with you is going to challenge everything you think you know about manifestation, everything you have been taught about affirmations, everything you have been told about how money works. But if you can receive this, if you can let this truth penetrate not just your mind, but your spirit, your identity, your deepest knowing of who you are, then your financial reality will never be the same again. Here's the command, and I want you to not just hear it, but feel it. I want you to speak it out loud with me right now. Do not wait until the end of the video. Do not say you will do it later. Do it now. Because this is not information. This is activation. The command is this: money obeys my call. 4 words. That is it. But here is what makes those 4 words so powerful. They do not ask. They do not hope. They do not beg, they command. And when you say them with the authority of someone who knows, not someone who is trying to believe, but someone who knows that they carry divine creative power in their voice, those 4 words rewire your entire relationship with money. Money obeys my call. Not, I hope money comes to me. Not, I am trying to attract money. Not, I am worthy of receiving money. But money obeys my call. The same way a subject obeys a king. The same way a soldier obeys a general. The same way reality obeyed when the divine spoke, "Let there be light." Now here is what happens when you speak this command with true authority. And I mean real authority. Not fake confidence, not pretending to believe, but actual knowing from the core of your being. First, your nervous system shifts. You stop feeling anxious about money. You stop checking your bank account with fear. You stop worrying about bills. Not because you are ignoring reality, but because you have issued a command, and now you are simply waiting for reality to catch up to your word. The same way a king issues a decree and then goes about his day, not because he is in denial, but because he knows his word is law and it will be done. Second, opportunities begin to appear, not because you are suddenly luckier or working harder, but because your energy has shifted from lack to authority. And people, situations, and circumstances respond to energy. When you walk into a room carrying the frequency of someone who commands money, not someone who is desperate for it, doors open, conversations happen, ideas come, resources appear. Third, and this is the most profound shift, you stop seeing money as something outside of you that you have to chase, earn, or deserve. You start recognizing money as energy that responds to your voice. And when energy responds to your voice, you do not have to manipulate it. You do not have to force it. You simply command it, and it flows. Now some of you are thinking, okay, I am ready to speak this command. But what if I do not fully believe it yet? What if there is doubt underneath? And that is a fair question. So let me give you the most practical, actionable guidance I can. If you do not fully believe it yet, do not speak it 100 times, hoping repetition will create belief. Instead, speak it once, and then spend the rest of your day looking for evidence that it is true. Not evidence that you need money. Evidence that money obeys voices. Evidence that when people speak with authority, reality responds. Look at every person who has ever become wealthy. Did they become wealthy because they were the smartest, the most educated, the hardest working? Or did they become wealthy because at some point they spoke with authority? They declared what they wanted. They made a decision. They issued a command to reality, and reality obeyed. Look at every breakthrough in your own life. Every time you experienced a sudden shift, a sudden change, a sudden opening of doors, what happened right before that? If you trace it back, you will find a moment where you spoke with conviction, where you decided, where you commanded reality to be different, and it was. That is evidence. And the more you look for it, the more you see it. The more your belief grows, not through repetition, but through recognition. You are not trying to create belief. You are uncovering the belief that has always been there, buried under years of programming that told you that you are small, powerless, and separate from source. But you are not small. You are not powerless. And you are not separate. You are the voice through which divine law moves into form. And when you remember that, when you embody that, when you speak from that place, your word becomes law. So here is what I want you to do right now, before this video ends, before you move on to the next thing, before you let this moment pass without taking action. I want you to speak this command out loud, not in your head, out loud. Because there is power in vocalization that thought alone does not carry. There is something that happens when sound waves leave your mouth and move through the atmosphere. Your voice carries frequency, and frequency is what moves energy. Say it with me now. Money obeys my call. Say it again, but this time, put your hand on your chest. Feel the vibration of your voice moving through your body. Feel the resonance in your bones. Money obeys my call. One more time, and this time, I want you to close your eyes and feel the authority rising up from your core. Not from your head, not from your thoughts, but from that deep place inside you that knows you are more than your circumstances. From that ancient part of you that remembers you were created in the image and likeness of the divine. from that eternal truth that has been buried under years of programming but is now being awakened. Money obeys my call. How did that feel? Did you feel the shift? Did you feel something activate in your chest, in your throat, in your energy field? Did you feel a tingling, a warmth, a sudden clarity? That is the law responding. That is your voice being recognized as command. That is the bridge opening between the invisible realm where your wealth already exists and the physical world where you are about to experience it. And I know some of you felt nothing. You said the words, but there was no sensation, no shift, no activation. And if that is you, I want you to understand something crucial. The absence of feeling does not mean it did not work. It just means your nervous system is still calibrating to this new frequency. It means you are still learning what authority feels like in your body. And that is okay. That is normal. Do not judge yourself for it. Do not use it as evidence that you are doing it wrong or that this does not work for you. Just know that every time you speak with the intention of authority, even if you do not fully feel it yet, you are training your nervous system. You are creating new neural pathways. You are teaching your body what it feels like to be someone who commands rather than begs. And the more you practice, not through mindless repetition, but through conscious embodiment, the stronger that feeling will become until one day you speak and you absolutely know that what you just said is already done. Now, here is the final piece, and this is critical. After you speak this command, you must walk away. You must release it. You cannot speak it and then immediately start doubting whether it worked. You cannot issue a command and then spend the next 3 hours checking your bank account to see if money magically appeared yet. That is like planting a seed and then digging it up every 5 minutes to see if it is growing. You kill the process not because the seed was bad, but because you would not let the law do its work. So you speak it once. Money obeys my call. And then you trust. Not hope, trust. There is a difference. Hope says, I really wish this works. Trust says, it is already done. I am simply waiting for the physical evidence to catch up to the spiritual reality. And while you are waiting, which might be hours or days or weeks, depending on what is being rearranged in the invisible, you do not go back to your old language. This is crucial. If you speak this command with authority, and then an hour later you are complaining about how broke you are, you just canceled your command. If you decree that money obeys your call, and then tomorrow you are telling your friend that you can never get ahead financially, you just issued a new command. And the new command cancels the first one. Your word is always creating, not just when you are doing your manifestation practice. Every single word you speak is either affirming your command or contradicting it. So if you want money to obey your call, you must become vigilant about every word that comes out of your mouth regarding money. Stop saying you are broke. Stop saying you cannot afford things. Stop joking about being poor. Stop agreeing with limitation, even in casual conversation, because every time you do, you are issuing a command to the universe, and the universe does not know the difference between a serious declaration and a joke. It only knows what you say, and what you say becomes your world. This is why Florence Scovel Shinn said, your word is your wand. You are not waving it only during your morning affirmations. You are waving it every time you speak. And right now, you are either commanding abundance or commanding lack. There is no neutral. Every word is a command. So if you truly want to activate the law of the spoken word, if you truly want money to obey your call, then from this moment forward, you must guard your mouth like it is sacred territory. Because it is. Your voice is the most powerful creative tool you possess. Use it wisely. Now, before we close, I want to address something that I know is coming up for some of you. You are thinking, this sounds great, but what about action? Do I just speak the command and then sit on my couch waiting for money to fall from the sky? And that is a valid question. Here is the truth. When you speak with authority, when you issue a command from a place of knowing, action becomes effortless. You do not have to force yourself to take action. You do not have to push or strive or hustle. You simply move when you are inspired to move. You act when the door opens. You say yes when the opportunity presents itself. But here is the key. The action comes after the command, not before. You do not take action to make the command work. You take action because the command is working. There is a huge difference. When you are operating from lack, you take desperate action. You force things. You chase opportunities that do not feel aligned because you are scared money will not come unless you make it happen. That is exhausting, and it rarely works. But when you operate from authority, when you have issued your command and you trust that money is obeying your call, you take inspired action. You move when it feels right. You rest when rest is needed. You say no to things that do not align. You say yes to things that light you up. And somehow, effortlessly, money flows. That is what it looks like when you stop being a slave to money and start being the authority over it. You do not work for money. Money works for you. You do not chase money. Money responds to your call. So here is my invitation to you as we close. Test this, not for a week, not for a month, but starting right now. Speak this command once with absolute authority. Money obeys my call, and then release it. Do not repeat it tomorrow. Do not check obsessively to see if it worked. Just trust and watch what happens. Because I promise you, if you can do this, if you can speak once with conviction and then walk in the authority of someone who knows their word is law, your financial reality will shift. Maybe not overnight, maybe not in the dramatic way you expect, but it will shift because divine law does not fail. It only waits for someone to use it correctly. And if this video resonated with you, if something inside you recognized truth when you heard it, then I need you to do 3 things right now. First, subscribe to this channel. Not because I need subscribers, but because if this message landed for you, there are more teachings coming that will take you even deeper into the law of the spoken word and how to use your voice to create the life you were always meant to live. Second, hit that like button. And I am serious about this, not for the algorithm, for you. Because that single action tells your subconscious mind that you are saying yes to this teaching, that you are choosing to step into your authority, that you are done playing small. And third, comment below right now. Write, I command my reality now. Write it. Release it. Let that be your public declaration that something has shifted, that you are no longer someone who hopes and wishes. You are someone who speaks, and it is done. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying until the end. Thank you for being willing to challenge everything you thought you knew about manifestation and affirmations. The world needs more people who remember their authority, who speak with conviction, who command reality instead of begging it for scraps. You are one of those people. Now go speak your word and watch your world change.